welcome back. Welcome back to Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. And we told you we're going to continue to share life experiences. We have another amazing guest, Samantha. It's Wendt.
Wendt.
Okay, Wendt. The D is silent. Okay, Wendt. And she has another different testimony to share that I don't think we shared before. Samantha, if you can come up and introduce yourself, and then City State is going to kick off the first question.
Hello, everyone. I am Samantha Wendt, a prophetic restoration healer, certified master herbalist, facial analysis master, trauma-informed practitioner, a speaker, and an author. For much of my life, I understood what it meant to survive. Like many people, I learned how to push through pain, carry burdens quietly, and keep functioning while parts of me were still waiting to be restored. Today, my passion is helping others come out of survival mode and step into spirit-led restoration, body, emotions, and spirit. I own Empowered by Nature Wellness Center. My speaking, teaching, and mentorships, I help people uncover hidden wounds, break unhealthy cycles, reconnect with how God designed them to be, and walk in greater freedom, wholeness, and identity. I believe restoration is about more than managing symptoms or coping with life. It's about reclaiming who God created you to be and living in a place of safety, authority, and purpose. Most importantly, I am a daughter of God, a wife, a mother, and someone who has witnessed firsthand power of restoration. My mission is simple: to help people uncover what has been hidden, restore what has been broken, and walk boldly in the life that they were created to be. And I just thank you guys for having me here today.
Absolutely, and thank you again for joining us this evening. As we do with all of our guests, we like to start, at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up, where you grew up, your family structure, and if you encountered or experienced any trauma in those years.
Well, I am born and raised, still living in Minnesota. I grew up with my brother, my mother, and my father. Both my mom and my dad worked. My dad was a workaholic. He liked to work a lot. So it was a lot of my mom's influence on me of how to live life. My dad was there too. Don't get me wrong on that. But, she taught me what to wear, how to have my hair. I used to have short haircuts, like eyebrows short. I didn't like it, but that's what my mom told me. And then as I got to be about kindergarten age, that's when I got glasses. So, of course, all the kids in school started calling me Four Eyes. And then as I progressed in the school years, I had different bullies and harassers. It got so bad that I had to have teachers walking me from classroom to classroom just because they wouldn't get rid of the people who were bullying. And then as I got into my dating years, I started dating all the wrong guys, dealt with emotional, physical, sexual abuse. I've been sexually assaulted as well. So yes, I've gone through the trauma. I also, my mom, I don't know if she was meaning to, there's generational stuff, but she told me there was one time I wanted to be in a beauty pageant, and she told me that I didn't have a big enough chest, wasn't skinny enough, didn't have blonde hair. I was in like my early teens, I think this was, and I was maybe 120 pounds, so it influenced how I viewed myself, plus all the other people. So, I've gone through my share of trauma. And the other thing that I was taught in my childhood that's going to play for later is sugar was your BFF, there for you in your good times and your bad times.
Okay, we got a lot to get to. You just gave us a whole lot of what we didn't talk about. So this is going to be an interesting podcast.
I'm here to unpack it.
Hey, look, and we ready to share it, and hopefully your testimony will help someone else. I want to go back to being bullied as a child because we talk about bullying a lot. Before you got glasses, were you being bullied, or did the bullying start after you got glasses?
It more started after the glasses. I did also preface that I had speech issues when I was a kid too. So, I mean, glasses, speech issues. Yeah, I was a prime candidate for bullies, if you want to give a prime candidate.
That's interesting you say you're a candidate. Why would you say you're a prime candidate?
Well, just like looking at the profile of bullies and the profile of who they typically pick on is people who have glasses, have some sort of disability, so that's why I guess the word candidate just came out. But, I fit that profile of who bullies typically go after.
Now, when you were kind of explaining your family structure, I may have missed it, but you didn't really give too much detail about Dad in light of kind of the way your mom was, to you about your appearance and just kind of direct and straightforward. What was kind of like their dynamic like? Like, was she such a powerhouse of a woman in relation to Dad, or like, was he just kind of a yes man? Like, where did he all fit into this?
He's a quiet guy, just kind of goes with the flow. Very nice. It's just he doesn't like conflict. He, like I said, was a workaholic, so he wasn't around much, and so he just did go with the flow. He's still around, but I mean, when I got into high school, my dad did take me on some dad-daughter trips. We went to Florida a couple of times together that my brother didn't get to have. So I don't know if he was starting to notice some of that, or it was I'm the youngest child and all of a sudden now he's realizing that I'm going to be out of the house soon. I'm not quite sure why that started in high school, but I was very appreciative of those couple of trips that we got to take by ourselves.
And did that the time frame? I'm going to piggyback off of said the time frame of your dad coming into spending time with you. Did that emotionally affect you?
I'm not quite sure, to be honest. As I've been kind of healing things, I used to like block out a lot of my childhood because I didn't want to deal with the trauma. But now as an adult, I've been trying to unpack it and heal some of those childhood traumas, just so that I can be able to move on in my adulthood without having any physical ailments or anything with it. Because if we don't deal with the trauma that we bottle up and don't heal it, it actually could potentially become into a physical ailment, like some sort of disease in our body.
What age was I guess the kind of height of your bullying, where it was the worst, and why?
When I was a child, I didn't quite know why, but it was more when I was in junior high age. So that would have been 7th, 8th, 9th grade. In that time frame, there was a group of guys that would really bully me, and I came to find out now as an adult, when one of the guys reached out to me, that they were on a lot of drugs. And so the name that they called me was Cartoon. I didn't know at the time, but apparently when they were on drugs, I just looked like some sort of cartoon character to them. And so that's why they kept calling me that. And they were like everywhere I went. It was quite creepy.
And when the guy reached out to you, did he apologize to you?
He kind of apologized. You know, it was more of a, I'm becoming a youth pastor and I need to be able to clear my conscience type thing. So some religions, you know, if you become a pastor, a youth pastor, if you did any wrong in your life at all and you did not rectify it, you have to go and rectify it with the person that you hurt or whatever it was.
And what type of, I guess, feelings did this all give you? I know you said, you know, you kind of turned to sugar. How, you know, accessible was that for you, or how was it encouraged in your household? Like what made it, I guess, so special to you, or your security blanket?
So I did start going to church when I was in 5th grade, but it was more the superficial of you go to church on Sunday and you go to youth group on Wednesday. And I didn't know the depths of God. Growing up in the late 80s, early 90s, was really in the height of the push of sugar, between having Kool-Aid to Nesquik, all the sugary cereals, all the candy bars. Sugar became my comfort. It was what I reached out to in my coping mechanism of all the trauma that I had dealt with in my life. And I met my husband when I was 18, and we got married when I was 20. By the time I was in my mid-20s, I was over 240 pounds. I couldn't do a flight of stairs. I was highly addicted to sugar. I'm talking, I was the queen to the 3 king-size candy bars, plus all of the sweet treats in one single day.
And how did your husband react to
that? He didn't know much better either. You know, it was just, that's what I could eat, or, you know, what I wanted to eat. And we both didn't grow up in a like health conscious. He grew up more of home cooked meals, but he got the freedom of also going out to eat if he wanted to when he was an adult. And so I guess he didn't look on it, down on it any. The only thing that we were both frustrated with was I was in my mid-20s and I couldn't even have kids. So that was the one kicker. And in 2010, I did a whole slew of testing through Western medicine. And by the end of 2010, all that they could say was that I had restless leg syndrome. Here's a pill. Have a nice day.
Wow. When, or I guess, what was the moment that you consciously knew that you were correlating sugar with your happiness, rather than, just something you do, like we eat whatever, When did you realize, that you should put two and two together?
So my wake-up call, at least the first wake-up call, was when I started seeing a naturopathic doctor in 2011, and he did all of his testing. He looked through all of my health history, looked at all the patterns that I was having, the foods I ate. And after all his testing, he looked at me and he sat me down and he's like, Samantha, if you don't change your ways, at best, by the time you are 30, you will be a vegetable in a nursing home. At worst, you'll be 6 feet under. I was knocking on the graveyard door because I was so addicted to sugar. But I didn't think of it as addiction at the time. It was one of those, that was my coping mechanism of all the trauma. And so that was kind of the first start to the wake-up call. But, as addicts are, in the first year, I eradicated 80 pounds. I had a miscarriage, but then I went on to having a viable pregnancy. And after my kiddo was born, I started slip sliding down the sugar addiction again because mamas, what do? We grab whatever's easy to eat. And on January 31st, 2016, God's like, honey, we're not doing this again because my kiddo and I were involved in a motor vehicle accident. And so that was another shakeup of what was going on. And then in 2017, I was diagnosed with a slew of food intolerances that later turned to food allergies. The accident was another wake-up call. But the final straw with sugar and me was when I was diagnosed with a cane sugar allergy in 2022. So that really became the wake-up call of, okay, I get it. I'm really crutching on sugar and I can't be doing this anymore. So that's one of the real big, now that I don't have my quote unquote safety blanket, I've actually been turning to God more and having him as my comforter instead of food being the comforter.
And can you tell us what a cane sugar allergic reaction is?
So cane sugar is a rare allergy, but my symptoms that I had was I got hives down the bottom or the back of my neck. And so that's what I was dealing with. But I'm sure that I was having some digestive issues as well. I will say my body is inhabiting with celiac. I'm airborne to all grains. And when you look at wheat and you deep dive into the family history of wheat, the distant relative to wheat is cane sugar. So that's potentially why I have issues with cane sugar.
How did the sugar addiction affect your relationship with other food? Like, were you still eating other things or eating, mostly well balanced, just, an exorbitant amount of sugar? Or, was that kind of like your main source of, food? Like, how was your relationship with other food?
I was a junk foodaholic in a way too. This was prior to the food allergy days, so I could go out to the fast food. I could just grab whatever was easy, and I didn't really have the taste for fruit. I mean, okay, yeah, did I eat some? Yeah, but that's not what my main source was. It was not a balanced diet. Actually, one of my new favorite things that I've been saying lately is I had a salad the other day and it was just full of different colors. And I looked at my husband, I'm like, I'm guessing I'm chasing the rainbow in a different way now, because we all know that there's a famous cereal of, chase the rainbow. And as a child, I love to eat those sugary cereals that had all the different colors in it. And it's not healthy. It's full of artificial colors and I don't know what chemicals. But now I'm chasing rainbows to being whole food. And we are created to be eating the rainbow of colors in each day, because that's where our vitamins, our minerals, different fruits and veggies and the colors provide different sources of minerals and vitamins that are essential to our body.
So when you found out, kind of collectively or step by step, each element that was going on with you, what was the game plan? Or I would say before the game plan, what was supposed to be the treatment plan? From the doctors, how were you supposed to combat this with the combination of everything? I'm sure there was plenty medicine from here and there. What was supposed to be your treatment plan?
So with the Western medicine, obviously, they just wanted me to take a pill and have a nice day. When I saw the naturopathic doctor, he lined me up with supplements to support my adrenals, to be able to combat the candida overgrowth that was going on in my body that was making me so bloated. And then he also worked on a meal plan with me. I hate the word diet. He called it the candida diet, but I hate the word diet because when we look at the word diet, the first 3 letters say die. I don't know about you, but I don't want to die, not prematurely at least. I know we're all eventually going to die someday, but let's not feed it with a diet. So he worked with me with a meal plan that limited even the fresh fruits that I was eating in a day, at least in the beginning, because fresh fruits have, well, I should say also veggies, have natural sugars to them. So we limited how much carbohydrates I was having, the fruits and veggies. So pretty much it was a lot of veggies that weren't like, he wanted me to watch how much peas I ate because peas have more natural sugar to them. Same with carrots. But a lot of meat and lean meats and veggies is what I was eating for a while, just basically going back to the basics of how to eat. And I started to cook a lot more. And his plan was you ate strict on the meal plan for 6 days. On the 7th day, you had a free day. I tried that. So on the free day, you had 3 free meals and 2 meals of whatever you wanted to eat. I tried that and that made me completely sick. So I figured it out that, okay, throughout the week, I have 3 meals that I could cheat on if I wanted to and 2 snacks. And that's how I was able to get through it. But as I was getting healthier, then the car accident happened and undiagnosis from the Western medicine, I went 8 months undiagnosed with a concussion, which led to chronic post-concussion syndrome. And the cherry on the top was the 21 months with a broken hand. There was a lot of inflammation in my body that partially, I believe, led to the food allergies. I don't know exactly. But with that being said, the food allergy, or learning about all the food intolerances that later would turn to food allergies, I started eating cleaner. And the more now that I've been eating cleaner, the more I'm starting to realize I don't have as much anxiety, as much brain fog. I have more energy and I can be able to do things that I love. Like this morning, I went out for just over a 3-mile walk. And I am healing a broken foot right now too. So the body also heals faster when we're actually nourishing it with what we're supposed to have.
You said you had a broken hand for 21 months.
After the car accident.
How is a part of your body not healing because of the sugar intake you were taking in? 21 months?
21 months, the doctors did not pay attention to, or, did not do an MRI of the hand. After the accident, my daughter and I, we went to the ER, but they never neck braced us, never backboarded us, didn't do any images, basically looked at us and said, you've got some bumps, bruises, maybe some sprains. Have a nice day. Yeah. And this is a well-known medical system in Minnesota that did this. So they're, even with the concussion and how it took 8 months to diagnose the concussion, I had to see 2 neurologists to get diagnosed with a concussion.
So how did the healing on the hand, how did you realize that you had a broken hand? But 21 months, were you in pain the whole 21 months?
Yeah, I was in pain for 21 months. The end of May of 2017, the Western Med doctor that I had at the time basically dismissed me and said, you're as good as you're going to get, or that I can get you. You're going to be sitting in a chair in pain the rest of your life. Now, remember, he just diagnosed me with a bunch of stuff that I cannot take pain meds, or his pain meds. And so it's like, this is going to be interesting. And by the time September of 2017 came around, my right hand, which I'm right dominant, ceased to work. So then I pushed to see a hand specialist who finally did the MRI of my hand. And I was able to get the results the same day. And he looked at me and he's like, Samantha, have you ever had a broken hand? I'm like, nope, I've never broke my hand. He's like, well, you've been living with one for 21 months then. And a week later, we went into surgery. So the break was right about in here. And now I've got a scar in the letter of a J on my right hand. And then I had a joint that was going to be arthritic within a couple of years. So they fused this joint, and that's about all the further I can give you a thumbs up.
Now, was this able, kind of like a clear cut, able to be tracked back to, the doctors that just kind of blew you off? How obvious was it that something was going on? And did you, take this the legal route? Did you have enough documentation and evidence and, statements and things to even go in that direction?
We looked into the legal route, but no lawyer that I had talked to wanted to touch the health system because they had bigger legal power. And so we did not do any legal precautions against the doctors, or repercussions against the doctors because of that, because they've got the money and the bigger lawyers.
I want to go back a little bit. I want to talk about your bullying. I have another question. What ages were you bullied from?
It was pretty much from kindergarten until what would have been like 10th or 11th grade. So pretty much my entire school, elementary to senior high years.
Did your parents know that you were being bullied?
Yep. And I even asked my parents to transfer schools, and my parents wouldn't let me because my brother was in that school district and they were liking the teachers of that school district. So they don't want us to be in 2 separate school districts.
Okay. So did your parents do anything about the bullying?
I'm not quite sure if they did or not, to be honest, but it was one of those that I kind of had to take it on myself.
Okay, and I have one last question. How did bullying mentally impact you?
Mentally, it plays partially in my self-love of myself, the self-acceptance. I was a huge people pleaser, wanting to make sure that everybody else was taken care of before myself. I did have some suicidal thoughts in that time, but God kept me here. And so none of that came to fruition, obviously. But it did play strong on me with all the bullying, because it's like seeing my brother was having good grades, and my parent, or at least my mom, would compare me a lot with my brother. And so it was one of those that I had to kind of follow in his footsteps and make sure that I was getting the good grades and doing all this stuff. And so that was another layer of mental, but that's partially why I went so strong into sugar, is that it helped me numb what was going on around me, to be able to be like, okay, I'm good. I've got my chocolate. I'm good. I got my chocolate. And I really thought that I was invincible and sugar couldn't touch me.
I do just want to touch on something you said earlier on. You mentioned that, just kind of what you have been through in life took you down a route of, choosing the wrong male partners. And you did say you suffered some sexual abuse and things of that nature. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, the circumstances surrounding that. What age, what point of your life was this? Yeah.
So it was pretty much between the age of 16 to 18. Pretty much all the guys that I dated, they forced themselves sexually on me. So I think, if I remember correctly, it was like 18 times that I've been sexually assaulted in my life. One of them was not a guy that I was dating. It was a foreign exchange student when I was in college, in a dorm room. And that one probably hurt the worst. I mean, all of them hurt, don't get me wrong. But that one I actually reported to the cops. And the district attorney of that town looked at me and he's like, it was just rough sex. You were asking for it. And, basically left it at that. There was no charges, nothing done. And so I dropped out of college because of that. So I could not handle it mentally, to be able to see him walking free and having fun, knowing of what he did. So
There were never any repercussions.
no, I had bruises on my chest, on my wrists, in between my legs, and there was nothing done, because he's a foreign exchange student. And I asked for it because, I was 18. I was young, and was I flirting? Maybe, but just because you flirt doesn't give you consent.
So it doesn't at all. So after being sexually assaulted, no one believing you, what was what happened after that?
Actually, shortly after that last one, the one that I reported was the last one. Shortly after, I actually met my husband. My husband's a godsend. God sent my husband to me. It was one of those, I wasn't having good success with dating guys, just meeting them in person. So I went to Yahoo Personals, being young and not knowing exactly what. But so we talked a little bit online. And then we met in person at a public place. So it was completely safe, that we could pretty much just leave if we didn't like it or we felt off. We were pretty much inseparable from the time that we met. But my husband has been with me, or, we got engaged 3 days after we met each other. And so the fiance time, he has been with me through the thick of the healing, all the medical stuff. I don't remember it, but one of the antidepressants that I was on made me hallucinate, and I wanted to commit suicide to the point where I had grabbed a bottle of pills, but he was around, so he was able to get the bottle out of my hands. I'm in a much better mental place now than what I was then. But I'm not a fan of antidepressants because of my experience. I realize that some people need it, but I am sure that my sugar addiction was not helping with the mental side of things either. But it's what I knew. That's what I knew to go for. Just like some people get addicted to drugs or alcohol, I got addicted to sugar.
Being as though you did kind of move quick, with the meeting your husband, excuse me, with being that you made so many bad choices previously, how did you convince yourself that this was safe? What was he doing to, alarm you that this was somebody different, or, the results will turn out different? What made you, take the chance on it after being hurt, severely so many times?
It's kind of hard to explain, but it's kind of like the romance movies where, you meet in the first time and you just know that it's the person. Like I had the instant butterflies, and it just seemed like everything was moving slowly, even though it wasn't. And I just had this feeling that I hadn't had in any relationships past. It was one of those that it felt right away. Like just being around him felt like I was finally safe. I was finally in a home that was safe. And so it's like I say, it's hard to explain, but just like the very cells of my body just knew that they could just finally relax, because they found a safe spot.
I wanted to ask, the influence of the sugar that was brought on by your parent. Have you ever asked, I guess your mom, have you ever asked why did they, or if it was one, influence you to become addicted to sugar, and the mental aspect of how it affected you?
I've never asked my parents, but I'm wondering if there's some sort of generational, passed on from my parents' type of thing, because there is that generational conditioning that gets passed on, and that generational trauma. And so I'm thinking that's where it came from. I know before the food allergies, I was starting to see some of the patterns that I was taught as a child that I was starting to influence on my kiddo. Like I grew up in the clean plate club. You had to eat everything on your plate or else you don't get dessert. You got to eat everything on your plate or else you don't get X, Y, and Z, that kind of thing. That's how I grew up. And I think that's how my parents grew up too. And so they're just passing that on. And it's all of a sudden I started seeing those patterns with me saying with my kiddo. And it's like, wait a minute, this is a repeating cycle. And it shouldn't be a repeating cycle. We shouldn't have to be eating everything on our plate just to be able to get a reward or whatever it may be.
Now, are you at the point where, it's a complete wash for sweets? You got completely cold turkey, or do you, dabble every now and again? What is your current relationship with, sugar or anything sweet, really, whether natural or not?
So every morning I have a fruit smoothie is what I make. I actually make it 64 ounces. I drink 32 in the morning and 32 as part of my lunch. And so that's pretty much like, I'm good with that for sweets. There are times where it's like, I feel like I want a cookie or I want a little something sweet. So I will physically make my cookies where right now what I can have for ingredients is cassava flour. The ones that I've been making lately are sun butter cookies. So it's cassava flour, some Celtic sea salt, sun butter, and then maybe a little bit of maple syrup. I don't need a lot of maple syrup. Like if I make my homemade pancakes, I don't need a lot of maple syrup. A little bit for me goes a long way. That's how far I have come from being completely addicted. Give me the 3 king size candy bars plus all of the sweet treats, to I can eat some maple syrup, but I even got to watch how much of that I eat. Fresh fruits, I even have to watch how much. My body will tell me if I'm eating too much fresh fruits even. So it's really just knowing the body and letting it come back to how God created us to be. I mean, no, you don't have to have all the food allergies like I do, but the Bible even tells us, that we should be limiting how much honey we have. But so much of our foods in the market and the grocery store contain sugar these days. So it's hard to even eat like God wants us to eat.
I want to ask, this is the platform, Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. If you could look at the person that assaulted you in college, what would you tell them right now?
I've not thought of that one. But as odd as it will sound to say, I would probably let him know of, how it hurt. But then I would also turn around and say thank you because it became one of my fires of refinement. And that night, I will actually also say, I don't like to go into too much details, but I will say God was there that night because he did not get to finish off. I was able to push him off because I asked God for strength, and it was like a legion of 10,000 angels, and I was able to push him off. So that night in itself is a whole testimony of God's work. But speaking to that guy, I tell him like how it hurt. I probably end up crying, but crying is a good relief of releasing what's left of there. But then, like I say, I would probably say thank you for one of the fires of refinement. Through what he did, it's now giving me the strength and the power of who I am as a woman now. And I can now actually be able to speak about it. And I can actually now be back to seeing red and black again. That was his jacket colors. So yeah, that's kind of what I would say to him.
Now, when you, did your meal plan, kind of stuck to it, what were the, kind of drastic changes you were seeing? What things were your doctors, seeing, and maybe your blood work and things like that once you, got into the groove of things?
So Western medicine and we don't fully jive together. The Western medicine cannot, like, they have a hard time, for I don't know whatever reason, diagnosing me with anything. But my naturopathic doctor, with his testing, he was able to pinpoint a lot of things. And so that's when I transitioned really into, and when I started seeing the results, was like, okay, my body needs the holistic, natural way. Because I went in not believing that naturopathic was, or holistic medicine was the way. Within the first year, I eradicated that 80 pounds, went on to having miscarriage, but then also having a viable pregnancy. And now, so from 2011 till now, my naturopathic doctor passed away in April of 2020, just because he was in his 70s and his heart gave out. But that was also another pivoting point for me of, what do I do for my health? What do I do for my family's health? And how can I help somebody else? So in that whole journey, I met a retired chiropractor, and he is the founder of WTF, Why the Face. His name is Dr. Todd Frisch. He did a facial analysis on me. And let me tell you guys, he didn't know me from Jill down the street, but yet he knew everything about me, as far as my health went. Just looking at my face, he could tell that I was dealing with a concussion. My adrenals, spleen, pancreas, you name it, was not very strong at the time. So that was another pivoting point with my health. Of course, I needed to learn how to do it myself. And that's something that I do now, is I can be able to read somebody's face and know what systems need support. But really, it's been this whole kind of God giving me certain people at a certain milestone to be able to heal what is going on. But then there's a lot of it that I've done on my own. Being a certified master herbalist, the facial analysis master, and a trauma-informed coach, I've had to do my own deep dives. And within that, I have been learning to break free of the survival identity that man has placed on me, and really stepping into my crowned daughterhood era of who God created me to be. And the more that I've been releasing the trapped emotions, the more I'm starting to notice some of the inflammation in my body decreasing, the more energy I have, just not feeling weighted down. The more I speak life into my body, the more my body responds.
I want to ask, what would you tell the little girl in you to another little girl that may be going through something similar to you?
I would probably tell her that it may hurt now, but it's just only your platform to be launching off to be a strong woman who will be able to come back and help others along in their journey to heal and be supported, to be that safe place of a sounding board.
And how long has this journey been? Will this, be a constant thing for you for, the remainder of your life? What health issues are you still working through, if any? Yeah, just kind of give us your timeline and what's to come. The kind of outlook with everything.
All right. So I started my healing journey in 2011, and to today, I am still working on it, and I will be working on it the rest of my life because things are going to bound to come up. We ebb and flow in life. Our health ebbs and flows. So I don't expect it all to be healed overnight. I know we are in the addiction in society of quick fixes and needing the instant gratification. But when it comes to our health, we can't get that instant gratification all the time. We need to be able to learn how to be still, how to relearn to love ourselves, or to love ourselves if we weren't taught that as a child. And it's one of those that it will be a lifelong. Right now, I broke my foot in the beginning of February, so I'm working on healing that. But other than that, I've got multiple food allergies and celiac that have inhabited my body. As you can see, I am watching the words that I say because what we speak often becomes true. And so I am working on healing my gut and healing the emotions surrounding stuff. And I can't say that I'll be fully healed because I'm not a doctor, so I can't treat, cure, or diagnose. But I am a firm believer in Isaiah 53:5, where it says, by his stripes, I am healed. And I speak that over myself pretty much daily. The chronic post-concussion syndrome, I was cleared of that in 2024, so I don't have that. So yeah, for the most part, my health is doing pretty good. I'm still just working on releasing a few of those trapped emotions and seeing where God takes me on this life.
I loved how you said, I'm still healing and I'm still releasing some of the trapped emotions that I'm going through. Some people won't admit that part. They'll just say, I'm healed, but healing is an everyday thing. And I tell people, we're never fully healed. So it's an ongoing process. We're almost at time. We want to thank you again for being a guest on Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. From your personal life experience, what advice would you give someone from your personal life experience that may have went through what you went through to help them start their journey to healing?
I would probably first start with learn to forgive yourself. Things have happened. It may not have always been you that chose it, but it's time to release and let go of the past because it's in the past. We've got the future to be looking for. And most importantly, we've got here and now, the present moment, the only time that we are guaranteed. So learn to be living with gratitude. Start working on the words that you are speaking over yourself. Instead of saying, I'm always having a bad day, switch it to, today's going to be a good day. And it may not happen right away. It's going to feel odd. But just switching words that we say, you will start to see your environment start to change. But also, you need to watch the foods that you're eating as well. And I know you're not going to be able to drop it all at once because it's not easy. But making simple changes throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month will make bigger impact in the long run.
Wonderful, wonderful words and advice. Thank you Again, as we do for all of our guests on each and every episode, we like to give you the opportunity to participate in shameless plug. You see your information scrolling across the bottom here. If you can let our viewers know if your story resonated with them in any way, how to contact you, if you have any services, professional services that you offer, any merch or books for sale, side projects, anything that you want to draw traffic to, that can help contribute to your life, your well-being, and the well-being of others, you have the floor.
All right. If any of this spoke to you today, I would love for you to continue on being in contact with me. The socials are scrolling below. And I'm also at empoweredbynaturewellnesscenter.com. There you can go to services and you can go click Crowning Daughters. That's my membership area. Or if you want a deep, intensive healing experience, click on the Unraveling Immersion Experience. And that is a 6-month immersion experience to help break free of survival identity and step into your crowned daughterhood or sonhood era.
And there you have it. Thank you so much for sharing your testimony and holistical ways to help others to live a healthier life. Can I ask before we end, what was your highest weight?
So my highest weight was 240 plus pounds.
Okay. And how much did you lose total through this journey?
I'm probably down 100 pounds.
Oh, yay. Okay.
And I will say it's been ebbing and flowing. There are times where it's like I weigh higher, and then there's times where I weigh lower. You guys can't just look at the numbers. You got to be looking at knowing how you feel, how you are in your body. The numbers, they like to lie sometimes. The scales can be off by 1 to 5 pounds depending on the time of the month, ladies. It could be up to like 10 pounds difference during that time of the month. So numbers do lie.
Good advice. Don't watch those numbers, especially if you're coming on your menstrual days.
Yes.
Thank you for that. That's some good advice. I didn't realize. I know the menstrual make us bloated, but I didn't realize the additional weight that they could put on.
Yep.
Okay.
Not everybody's going to be 10 pounds. It's typically up to 5 pounds, but some people I've seen can be up to 10 pounds. So.
Okay, that's some good knowledge to know. Thank you for that. We want to thank you, Samantha, for being a guest on Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast, where we're going to continue to share life experiences in hopes that someone will connect so that they can start their journey to healing, or just a resource to give them some motivation to start their journey to healing. So we want to thank you so much for your sharing your testimony with us.
And I thank you for the space to be able to share it.
Our pleasure. Sid, we're going to keep sharing life experiences. Ain't that right?
Yeah,
that's right.
That's right. So tune in each and every Monday at 8 p.m. Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Instagram. We also have a Facebook private chat group with Unfiltered Unspoken Podcast. We have some amazing testimonies. Come check us out. You do not want to miss us. So tune in. We will see you soon. Peace.